Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this live stream. I'm Tyler Tillman, and I just felt like getting on this morning. I just finished my morning kind of ritual process. I want to talk about healing, evolution of consciousness, getting to know thyself. From you guys can, see a little pyramid behind me and little Tutankhamun image. You can tell that I'm probably into the ancient Egyptian scheme of things. And the reason I'm into the ancient Egyptians is if you go all the way back and look at one of the historians that existed in around 400 BC, his name was Herodotus. Herodotus traveled around the world, and he would go to locations all around the world and then come back to Greece and share all about the Persians and all about the Romans and all about the Etruscans and all about all these different nation states and civilizations gathered together. Now, you got to understand that the Greeks were kind of like the snobs of the world. When I say that, the Greeks thought they were the bee's knees, they were the shit, they were more advanced than anybody else on the planet. Everybody else was a bunch of Neanderthals and didn't have their shit together and were nowhere near the advancement of the philosophy and the mindset and the spiritual connection as the Greeks, except for the Egyptians. And even the Greeks admitted, like, hey, we're the gods of the earth, but when it comes to the Egyptians, they're far more advanced than we are. So if you actually look into the things that were written by Plato pretty much changed the Western world as we know it. And Plato spent a large portion of time in Egypt learning from the physicians and learning from the Egyptians before he came back, wrote the Timaeus and the Critias and talked about ancient Atlantis and the history of the Egyptians and pretty much changed the Western world as we know it, the way that we do commerce, politics, all these types of things. He was known as one of the greatest philosophers. You can also look back to the times of Pythagoras, which is prior, and Pythagoras spent 22 years in Egypt. He became a master physician, did some pretty epic things. And so I'm just kind of laying a foundation for a conversation. And essentially this guy Herodotus said the Egyptians are the healthiest, brightest. So they're like these bright, healthy, happiest people. They're the happiest people of any place in the world. Now think about that for a minute. We're talking about 400 BC. We're talking about thousands of years ago. The place where the people are the cleanest, they said they're the most hygienic, cleanest, healthiest, and happiest people on earth are the Egyptians. And it just so happens that the Egyptians have advanced information in mathematics. You can see it throughout all their artwork, how they applied sacred geometry, phi and pi, into their buildings, into their temples. You got these massive pyramids out in the middle of the desert. It's just like, how do these guys do this stuff? And the reason that I'm laying this foundation is this next piece is going to be really hard to believe. But I found a man by the name of Dr. Ramses Salim. God bless his soul. He's no longer with us. But Dr. Ramses Salim was born in Egypt, and because of many factors, he ended up getting invited into the actual teachings of the ancient Egyptians, like the people who actually still speak the language, still fully wrote the language underground. Okay, so ancient Egyptian language was lost for a very long time to the public and to society. But ever since about 600 BC, when the Egyptians were attacked, by all these different nations, the Persians, the Romans, the true wisdom and knowledge of ancient Egypt was taken underground. The actual Egyptian brotherhood, whatever you want to call it, Egyptian people that were really high up took it underground and realized, our nation's going to be destroyed. We need to go underground and continue this message and a lot of these truths that were being shared. The language, the writing, the reading, the mathematics, the lifestyle, what they knew about the human body. The physicians back then were some of the greatest physicians of all time. And these are where physicians come from. A lot of people are unaware that a medical doctor, all doctors that exist today, originated from a man by the name of Hippocrates, also lived around 400 BC. Hippocrates went to Egypt, spent 7 years, this is documented, in Egypt learning from the physicians, okay, at a temple called Mennefer and also Saqqara. This is what we call present-day Memphis, still call it Saqqara. And if you go to Egypt to this day, I've taken guided tours there, you can actually see the physician with a stethoscope around his neck in hieroglyphs at Saqqara. You can see the scalpel. You can see all the tools of the medical doctor. And Hippocrates basically went back to his hometown and then started spreading this information and teaching other physicians, which, by the way, the definition of physician in a couple of different languages literally means the art of healing. So a true physician is someone who understands the art of healing. And also it means an advanced knowledge of nature. So the word physician means knowing the art of nature and applying that into the art of healing, which is something that medical doctors have no knowledge in whatsoever and do not practice today. Medical doctors have no knowledge of nature, and in fact, they don't apply anything really most of the time in the art of healing. They deal in the distribution of pharmaceutical drugs and the war against disease. You got a disease, we're unsure what caused it. In fact, we don't even care. We just know that you have a disease and we're going to treat it. We're going to give you some treats, okay? Here's your treats, take your pharmaceutical drugs, suppress the symptoms, and we'll see you later because you will be back. Or, hey, we'll do surgery, or, hey, let's just poison this thing out of you. You got some major disease, let's just put as much poison as we can in your body and hope it kills the disease before it kills you. That's what medical doctors do, cut, burn, and poison. And in fact, they've been around for so long. Healers and true physicians and medical doctors, or the original poison makers, have been at war for many thousands of years. And the poison makers and medical doctors have won because they have all the money. They have so much money through their poisons that cost so little, cost nearly nothing, because they're all synthetics made from carbon chain constructs of crude oil, which is super cheap. So real healers that actually go pick the herbs and the roots and the different things, there's a lot of time and a lot of energy and cost involved with real medicinals. And even the word medicine comes from medu sunu, which is words of the physician. The ancient physicians were called sunu, or sunut, or swinwet. And medu meant word or language. If you look up the ancient Egyptian language, you'll discover this. And I've gained access into a teaching that is of the original ancient Egyptian through Dr. Ramses Salim. And when I read his book, I was absolutely blown away. And I've been looking for, I've always been interested in the ancient Egyptian stuff. And I've always just felt that there was more to it than what we're being told. And that's the absolute truth. What we have been told about ancient Egypt is all just complete, not complete, but mostly lies. And the true epic goodness, which when you read this book, when you read the real information about ancient Egypt and the real hieroglyph translations, you'll feel it throughout your being. You'll know, like, oh my God, this is highest truth. So when I first read this book by Dr. Ramses Salim, and I was like, holy shit, these are things that I've never heard anywhere. And I just know in my soul, these things are true. I need to go be around this man. And I spent tens of thousands of dollars over years of traveling to literally just sit at the feet of this master who is teaching these ancient Egyptian processes and like sharing the entire Egyptian's physician's manual. So it was the same process that Hippocrates and Pythagoras and a lot of these people were going through. And I spent many years doing this. And, you know, I would say, unfortunately, it's not until the last year I've actually been practicing the ancient Egyptian processes for detoxification, for healing, for human regeneration and human evolution, and truly coming to know thyself. And I put that on the description here. And the whole reason for this conversation is this information needs to be disseminated to as many people who are seekers of truth as possible, because there are some processes here that can radically help humans to heal themselves, humans to evolve, to get to know ourselves, and to prevent disease. And this literally is the information for the next stages of human evolution. There's some absolutely mind-boggling information that needs to be exposed. And the thing about the ancient Egyptian information is it's worthless without the actual practical application. And I'd say any information is worthless without practical application. And the nice thing about the ancient Egyptians is most of what they taught was taught in a way that was like, here's a little bit, now go do it. Here's a little bit, now go do it. Here's a little bit, now go do it. And it's a process of gnosis, praxis, and intelligence, to know, to do, to become. It's a process of human evolution. And what I have done is I put together a 3-month process called Know Thyself. And it incorporates every aspect of these ancient Egyptian teachings in a sense that it'll show you the physical, the mental, and the emotional processes for evolution and for healing. So, you know, if you know who I am, or you've been watching me for years, I've been putting these processes into use with people with chronic disease. So people with stage 4 cancer, heart disease, Lyme disease, autoimmune conditions, digestive conditions, mental and emotional, major imbalances, so many different things. And I've set up programs based on the ancient Egyptian teachings, which incorporates hot and cold therapy. It incorporates skin cleaning. It incorporates digestive cleansing, liver cleansing, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally, and through very specific movements and postures and breathing techniques that are super powerful. So I put together this 3-month process, and I just literally finished last week taking about 50 to 70 people. We actually had 70, but 50 people were like actually showed up fully committed. And we went through the entire 3-month journey together, going through these processes. And I have the testimonials, these people, what they've said about what it's done to their lives. Their lives will never be the same. They've completely shifted their mindset. They've completely shifted their emotions. They've completely shifted their daily practices and how they show up from the starting of the day to the finish of the day. And it's such a beautiful thing. There's a reason why the ancient Egyptians were the healthiest, the happiest, the brightest, and the most committed, because they understood why we're here. And they dedicated their lives on a daily basis to improving themselves. I have a web event tomorrow that'll probably be about 60 to 90 minutes. And it's going to be talking about specifically what these processes are and what we're going to do. And I believe that you can get a lot out of it just by showing up and listening in. And if you decide to actually join me on this epic journey called life, there's another 3-month process starting in about 1 month. And so the whole reason I've come on here is to share that a lot of times we need to go back to the past and bring a lot of these principles and this true wisdom to the present so that we can use this information to propel ourselves into the future. It's a retro-futurist. And I believe that certain individuals will be called into this information, into this knowledge, and into this wisdom, and come together as a community. Call us rainbow warriors, warriors of the light, whatever it is. There needs to be a reinitiation into the ancient traditions to carry us through the absolute darkness and bullshit that is happening on this planet. There is no doubt about it that there's a battle of light and dark going on. And it's so important that we come together as brothers and sisters and souls for a common purpose with common unity and supporting each other and evolving. So many people I see talking about it, very few actually having a process and sticking together through this process of evolution, a very specific process to grow and come to know ourselves. And I can tell you that I've had access to the process. I'm now doing the process, and I'm sharing this process with many others. And look, it's not for everybody. But if you are the type of individual who feels called into this information, at least show up and see what I'm talking about, and at least look at the hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of people that have been kind of coming along this path with me for the last decade. I'm not somebody who's just like rocking up like, hey, I've just found something. Let's try it. It's like I've been doing this for over a decade. I've had successful person after person after person reversing stage 4 cancer, heart disease, diabetes, major chronic disease. But not only that, like stepping onto a path of evolution and joy and love and happiness and light, becoming fully conscious of all the bullshit that's going on in the world and truly reminding ourselves who we are and our connection with nature. Our reconnection with our own souls. And then each individual streaming their own truth. It's so important that each and every one of us come to know ourselves and then follow that inner guidance. But sometimes we need a teacher. Sometimes we need a sage or a master to show us the way. And I've put myself in the presence of a true sage for many years. He's no longer with us, but I choose to take that torch. Many masters actually that I've been exposed to, but a couple specifically that have shared some really profound wisdom. And I've probably spoken more than I planned on this morning, and I appreciate you guys. There's some other really amazing brothers and sisters joining us right now and masters in this space. And I think that it's important that we come together from many traditions, bring these tools together, support and love each other, because it's going to require a lot of love and a lot of support and common unity to overcome the BS that we're all seeing around us. And that's all I'm going to say for today. I love you guys wherever you are in the world. I vote your victory. I truly hope that you find peace and you find a good positive path to move forward. And that's it. I will post a link to this web event that's coming up tomorrow night. I hope that you join me. It's a free event. We're just going to rock up. We're going to have a conversation. And I'm going to share with you some of these ancient processes and hope that we can do it together. So that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a beautiful day.